Hello my friends, you're listening to Ebird Online and this is part 2 of my Geoffrey Paschal love triangle before the 90 days review. So if you haven't seen part 1, just click the link below, watch part 1 and then join me back here again for part 2. And Mary's forgotten something, so she goes back into the house and Varya quickly says, "Geoffrey, you didn't respond to my messages." Varya, is that not a hint? And I'm beginning to think now that Varya is not wrapped too tight. And finally Mary storms off and she has the flowers that he bought her in her hand and she said, "I take it you won't be needing these." And later on Mary said to production, "I just couldn't believe that he stood there with his arms crossed." She said, "I feel duped and betrayed." And to be quite honest, if I were Mary, I for sure would never believe that they hadn't been in contact. It does sound as if they've been in very little contact, if anything at all. But if I were Mary, I would think, you were talking to her all along. You knew she was coming. I'd never ever believe she just popped up like she did. And I hate sticking up for Geoffrey at this point, but I think it's clear to him that she didn't speak properly and Varya popped up imagining all would be well. And Mary is completely entitled to believe that Geoffrey must have been speaking to Varya before. Because who would imagine that somebody would just turn up without having called and arranged it first? Mary should have asked to see the contract signed between Geoffrey and TLC. That might have illuminated the matter a little more. And once Mary had sped away in her car, Geoffrey let Varya in and he said that she could stay. And Geoffrey said, "Varya came all the way from Russia to try and re-energise our relationship, but the relationship has completely fallen off." Interesting choice of words. Re-energise the relationship. It's fallen off. It's completely fallen off. When you've finished with someone, you don't say things like re-energise and fallen off. You say, "We're finished, we're done." And when he doesn't use those words, I think there's a very good reason for us all to think there's some ambiguity in the way that he feels, and there's some ambiguity in what he has or hasn't said to Varya prior to her turning up. And he tells us he feels bad for Mary. I do too. And Varya asks, who is Mary? What about you and Mary? Are you in a relationship? And then she looked at him and said, "Well, you need to decide." And then they hug. It's all a mess. It's all a big mess. And Geoffrey said, "Are you just looking to jump into the old situation that we had?" And Varya said, "Why not?" And Geoffrey said, "I'm not there yet." There we go again, guys. There we go again. I'm not there yet. He's giving her hope. He's pulling her along on this crazy ride. And then he finally tells production he doesn't know what he should do. And Geoffrey turns back to Varya and said, "You're only here because I ignored you." And Varya said, "No, I love you." Well, I have to say one thing. I don't think that she was only there because you ignored her, but I think it played a part. If she got a visa, I've just been and checked, it takes on average 3 months to get a visa to go to America from Russia, a 2-week tourist visa. So basically, there's been quite some time in between him proposing and now. So Varya has no right to imagine that he would still be free. Why would he be? Varya tells him, "I love you and that's why I'm here." However, I do think that when a man disses you and then they ignore you, suddenly it tells you they have options. They're actually not too bothered and you definitely, I think, want them more. So the next time we see this couple, they're driving on the way to see their friends in the pub. And Geoffrey tells Varya, "I'm really happy you're here." And she said, "That's the first time you've told me. I'm glad that I can finally hear this." And Geoffrey tells production, "Even though I'm dating Mary, I still have feelings for Varya. So I'm going to let her stay for 2 weeks, see if I can figure it all out." So they walk into the pub and Geoffrey introduces Varya to all his friends. They all say hi, but what's this I see? The greeting's a little bit muted. But then we discover that they're also Mary's friends. And then just to make things absolutely worse, Geoffrey tells us, "I was supposed to be here with Mary tonight, but I've decided to bring Varya along instead." Are you absolutely kidding me? If he genuinely thinks that he might make a go of it with Varya, he needs for his friends to like Varya. Therefore, you need to leave a gap in between him finishing with Mary and him introducing them to Varya, so they're not so antagonistic. And unsurprisingly, the girls don't look very happy. Geoffrey proudly tells them that when Varya turned up, Mary was on the couch. How they laughed. And 2 of his friends, Mark and Jessica, were speaking to production and they said, "This is absolutely crazy. We cannot believe he's just turned up with Varya." And Mark went on to explain Geoffrey was heartbroken when he got back, so that's why he started hanging out with Mary. Guys, just like I thought, Mary's a convenient fallback, the placeholder if you will. And Mark doubles down on this when he says she's been there for him more than any woman I've ever known. She's the one that's kind of right in front of you, but you don't realise how valuable she is. Unfortunately, Mark, no, she's not. She's the one who's right in front of you, and you think she's okay, but you think you can do better, and so you try your hardest to do better for a number of years before finally admitting defeat and realising, okay, this is now my best option. Mary, in order to remain his best option, you have to stop him from meeting any other women ever. Otherwise they will go above you in Geoffrey's ranking. And Mark, God bless him, decides to put a cherry on top of the cake. And his final statement was, Geoffrey likes things that are new and exciting, so he'll always chase a new girl. Oh Lord. Mary, things ain't looking good. So they're all standing there talking and drinking, and Varya says to the group, do you think it's normal to fall in love with someone, propose to somebody, you have a ring, and then really quickly just move on with somebody else? And nobody actually answered, but a couple of the guys said, well, it depends on who it is. I.e., if it's Geoffrey, yeah, anything's normal with Geoffrey. Geoffrey's a loon. And then talk turns to Mary, and the girls say she's really, really close with Geoffrey. And Varya tells us, I feel really awkward. As well you might. If I were you, I wouldn't have even gone. I would have stayed in, got a bottle of wine, and had a nice night in with Geoffrey. However, law enforcement would have been on speed dial. But nevertheless, Varya says, I want Geoffrey, and I want to move forward with him. And Geoffrey has a chat to another friend, and he says he simply doesn't know what to do. But Varya's going to stay with him for 2 weeks, so he has to make a decision in that time. And his friend says, yep, you got to make a decision. And then right on cue, in strolls Mary. I couldn't help but notice she's wearing the same top from earlier. You know, that faithful old sweater. Which incidentally, Mary, is what you are to Geoffrey. And Varya was shocked. She said, oh, I can't believe this girl is here. It irritates me so much. I don't know why Varya is so entitled. She really genuinely thinks that Geoffrey is her partner. And we finished the piece with her saying, if she wants a war, she'll get a war. And when I sit down and think about it, Varya's actions are very Cold War-esque. She sent a few messages to Geoffrey, and I think he responded a little bit, but not too much. And so she thought, I'm not going to tell him anything. I'm going to sneakily go and get a visa and just pop up. So even if he doesn't want me here, I'm here anyway. I'm going to book a hotel for one night only. So even if he doesn't want me to stay with him, I have nowhere else to go. She's more or less forced herself upon him. And so what do we make of all this? Well, the first thing I want to say is that Varya has played her hand thus far quite well. She's just popped up, and she's more or less forced herself onto Geoffrey. She's mouthed off at Mary, making it impossible for Mary to stay, and she knows good and well Geoffrey was quite invested in her. And so when Geoffrey didn't go after Mary earlier, that must have really stung, and Varya must have thought, ha, I've won. So although it is just a game, Varya's playing the game very well. But I still can't help but to think she only wants to come here for that green card. I think she wants what she can't have. When she could have Geoffrey, she wasn't too concerned. Once she realised, oh, it seems like he's not actually that bothered, he has other options, she's then suddenly more interested. And I guess the dream of America became more distant the moment Geoffrey got on the plane. I think she wanted to hold her chips in her pocket, and Geoffrey more or less said, you play with those chips, you put them in the middle of the table, or I take my table away. Next to Mary, corn on the cob, coleslaw, salad, garlic bread, salsa, and Mary. They're all side dishes. Mary, you're really looking like a side piece right now. It appears to me that you're happy to hang around in the background and just wait for whatever you can have from Geoffrey. Geoffrey kind of hinted that you'd dallied in a relationship before, but the timing wasn't right. But that's all smoke and mirrors, as well you know. When you sat in the pub and you said to Geoffrey, why are you going all the way to Russia to meet this girl that you've never even met before? Why can't you find someone right in front of your face? Why not me? Geoffrey smiled and thought, let me go and see Varya anyway. So Mary, rather than be in a relationship with you, he'd rather travel halfway across the world to see some random bird he'd never spoken to. But still you hung in. He comes back, literally licking his wounds from being spurned by Varya, and you hop straight into bed with him. No begging, no convincing, no nothing. Just, do you want to be in a long-term relationship with me? Yeah? Okay then, let's go. Mary, it shouldn't be that easy. It really shouldn't be that easy. One morning you're in bed, just chilling, idling the morning away. Rat-a-tat-tat on your door. Who's this? It's Varya. Mary, you are now so used to your position that you say, right, I'm going. Geoffrey let Varya run her mouth off to you at his front door for no good reason, and you say, I'm leaving. You're too used to this lowly position, Mary. You seem like a fun and warm person, It seems like you've got a nice and quirky personality, and it also seems like you can hold your own. So why the doormat routine? There is no way in hell that I would have left that property unless Geoffrey explicitly said to me, Ebird Online, it's time to leave. At which point, yes, I'll leave, no problem. You will never see me again. Treat me like that and I will bring you to your knees. But no, Mary trots out. She understandably feels upset. And then she gets a call later on that day. Her friends call her and say, oh, guess what? Geoffrey and Varya are here in the pub as a couple on our couple's night out. And so Mary does a pop-up. Mary, you need to pull your game together. I would have said to Geoffrey, I understand she's got nowhere to stay. That's absolutely fine. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give her $600 and we're going to book her into the hotel down the road. And that is literally it. If you want to reconvene with Varya, please do so. But no, I will not be here waiting. Repeat after me, Mary. I am a steak. I am a lobster. I'm not corn on the cob. And I'm not garlic bread. I am a main dish, not a side piece. You need to really get this into your head, Mary. Otherwise, Geoffrey will always treat you in exactly the same way. You will always be expendable. And that's enough for you, Mary. You really should know better at your age. I want to also say just a really quick word about Geoffrey's friends. I've seen this unfold so many times and I find it astonishing. These guys are friends with Mary as well. Varya pops up and they're like, hi, like there's nothing going on. Really what they should have been doing is pulling Geoffrey to one side and saying, what's happening with Mary? Don't treat her like this. She's our friend. If nothing else, she's your friend. You don't want your friend to be badly treated, even if it's by another friend. It seems like there's no one to check Geoffrey and to keep Geoffrey in line. The girls did the best they could, I guess. They kind of gave Varya the cold shoulder. And they obviously nipped out and called Mary. But honestly, if I was in that situation, I would straight up say, you know, Geoffrey, I'm going to have to go because I really just don't feel comfortable just hanging out with Varya as if nothing's going on. Nothing against you, but I just don't want to get up in your mess. I'm going to go and hang out with my friend Mary, and I guess I'll see you at some other time. Nice to meet you, Varya. And so yes, I feel as if the friend's behaviour left a lot to be desired. But I will admit they were also probably very shocked by the whole situation, and I guess they hadn't had a chance to think it all through. But finally we get to Geoffrey. If he's not hurting women with his fist, he's mentally abusing them. However can you say to somebody, right, that's it, it's just me and you, and moments later somebody else pops up and you allow them to stay at your house for 2 weeks? What do you think this is doing to Mary? When Varya was shouting and swearing at Mary, and saying she really irritates me, Geoffrey just stood there with his arms folded. Geoffrey should have been saying, Varya, pipe down right now, otherwise I'm putting you back in that taxi and you can go back where you came from. He actually enjoyed the whole scenario. Geoffrey, you weren't honest with Varya anyway, and there's a lot more for her to find out about your personality and background, and I think that will have Varya running for the hills. So here's my prediction. I think that somehow or other Varya will find out about Geoffrey's real personality and real background and real despicable temper, and she'll run for Russia. Also, as we know, Geoffrey has pending charges, and I would bet my bottom dollar if you've got pending charges you cannot file for somebody else's K1 visa. So I think in the end game, whatever it was you wanted, Varya, you're not going to be able to get anyway. So I predict he's going to roll along with Varya for 2 weeks. Varya's going to go home and he's going to take back up with Mary, and Varya's going to have no other way to get back to the States, so it will be him and Mary. But Mary, hear this and hear it well. You're just a placeholder. When Geoffrey finds something better, he'll be gone. He's untrustworthy and malicious, and he has no one's best interests at heart, bar his own. So please, write in the comments below, tell me what you think. Is Mary heading for disaster? Is Mary just a side piece? Was Varya right or crazy to come to the United States to follow Geoffrey? Do we think that Geoffrey was secretly texting Varya, or at least liking her photos on Insta or something? I just don't believe there's been no contact whatsoever. And how do you think Mary's handling it? Would you have left the house when Varya turned up? Would you have popped up at the pub? And would you have let Varya get away with speaking to you like that? So please put your answers down below, and I will see you soon for another video. Thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Thanks for letting me get it all off my chest. Ciao for now.